This is Chris Albert, and I am here answering questions from my Instagram account. I do this every week. I ask everybody to ask me a question, and then I answer them. All right. And I've decided recently to answer them all in groups here on YouTube because honestly, going for response on Instagram has been getting a little bit crazy for me because people keep asking and then I'll send responses and then people will keep asking again. And so I wanted to do them here on YouTube. One, to save me some time, but two, to get to more of you so that more of you.
How do you feel about high carb diets?
Dude, it doesn't matter how I feel about high carbohydrate diets. What matters is how they work for you. A lot of you think that I'm completely dogmatic about my keto approach, and I do love it, but I'm not sitting here telling all you that if you're not following a ketogenic diet, you're gonna die of diabetes and never gain any muscle mass or anything like that. No, there are plenty of people on high carbohydrate diets, plenty of people who've done if it fits your macros with tons of carbohydrates, plenty of people who've done various different diets who are gaining and who are perfectly healthy. For me, the high carbohydrate diet did not work. It ruined my health. It sent my hemoglobin A1C up really high because of the amount of insulin spikes I was getting per day. And my blood markers were off and my ulcerative colitis kept flaring up, and it would send me into these waves of being very, very lean and then being fatter and then being very, very lean and then being fatter. I couldn't be in shape all year long on that diet. The reason why I like the ketogenic approach so much is because, one, my energy levels are awesome all the time. I don't have blood sugar fluctuations. And because I don't have blood sugar fluctuations, I'm not falling asleep an hour and a half after I'm eating or 45 minutes after I'm eating. My body is fueled entirely by ketones. So I can have a fantastic workout whether I ate 6 hours ago or whether I ate 2 hours ago. My strength is not dependent on glycogen. Ketones actually generate more adenosine triphosphate, which is muscle energy, than glycogen does. And this has been scientifically demonstrated. Ketones help with endurance. And these are the reasons, some of the reasons why I choose a ketogenic diet. Now, again, that's not to say that it will work for all of you like this, and I'm not trying to impose that view on you, but I am saying that it is a valuable tool, a very valuable tool that most people have mass misconceptions about because of really bad misinformation being put out there by the fitness industry. And why do I think that misinformation is put out there? Well, this is a diet that encourages you to eat a lot of fat, very moderate protein, and extremely low carbohydrates. So one, I think a lot of the people here on YouTube, just that concept is completely foreign to them and they've never actually even tried it. They might have tried a very low carb bodybuilding diet that also is low fat and really high in protein, and they felt like shit doing it, so they want to tell their clients about it. But this is something completely different. And until you've actually tried it and you've gone through keto adaptation, then you really don't know how well it works, right? And all I'm telling you is this: if you want to, experiment with it. If you don't, then keep doing what you're doing. That's fine, right? If you're looking to experiment with it, there's plenty of information out there. There is Jeff Volek and Stephen Finney's book, The Art and Science of Low Carbohydrate Performance. There are a whole host of other books you can read. You can go to my blog, chrisalbertfitness.com. You can go to Ben Greenfield Fitness's blog. He's absolutely amazing and knows everything about nutrition, not just keto, but other forms of dieting, great for endurance and strength. And follow your research.
Do you follow a standard ketogenic diet or a cyclical ketogenic diet? I've heard that cyclical ketogenic diets were better for power building, while standard ketogenic diets were better for endurance.
You know, I tend to agree with that. I do think that cyclical ketogenic dieting is better for those of you who are trying to put on a lot of muscle and who are trying to get strong. Let me tell you about the differences there. A standard ketogenic diet, you have a set amount of macronutrients that you're doing. So typically for like 180, 200 pound male, it'll be less than 30 to 50 grams of carbohydrate, around probably 100 to 120 grams of protein, and then about 160 to 200 grams of fat. And so those are the macronutrient breakdown. And on a standard ketogenic diet, you'd be following that, keeping your carbs under 30 grams the whole time. On a cyclical ketogenic diet, what you do is it either occurs over a daily cycle or over a week-long cycle. And on the daily cycle, what would happen is you would eat pretty much nothing but fat and moderate amounts of protein throughout the day. Much higher on the fat, very low on the protein, probably like, 100 and 120 grams if you're a 180-pound guy, just like I said. And then at the end of the day, after your workout, when you're good and insulin sensitive, you would eat a higher carbohydrate meal. Now, this depends on whether or not you had a good amount of activity that day. So if all you did was a 5-minute walk, or you did some yoga, or you went and trained your biceps, because that's not really strenuous anyways, I don't care who you are, then you don't need the carbohydrates. But if you had a really strenuous workout and you did, legs, it was leg day, and you killed it in the gym that day, then at the end of the day, you can have some carbohydrates. But again, it really depends on that activity level, because if you load the carbs when you didn't have a good activity level, you can pull yourself too far out of ketosis. With a good amount of activity on a cyclical ketogenic diet, you could probably go as high as 100 to 150 grams of carbs a day. But again, that has to depend on your activity levels. Over the week-long ketogenic diet, you follow a week-long cycle, and you stay extremely high fat, moderate protein throughout the week, almost zero carbs. And then at the end of the week, you have a high carbohydrate loading day, where you load in 400, 500 grams of carbohydrates. And that's a diet that's advocated by guys like the late Dan Duchaine through his Underground Body Opus. As far as what I prefer, I'm actually on a standard ketogenic diet right now. And that is because I'm prepping up for a classic physique show. And being on a significantly low amount of carbohydrates over a long period of time, I feel great. Because my body's fueled with ketones. I don't feel dependent on glycogen at all. When I've done the daily cyclical approach before in the past, I actually liked it a lot. It was a great way of putting on muscle. But what I do think is that it was a lot less healthy, because what I found myself was that I was gorging carbs at the end of the day and tending toward junk food. If you think you have a license to eat junk food and you start doing it, that can raise your inflammation levels, throw your blood panel way off, and you can get fat. And I actually did put on a little bit of fat when I was on a cyclical ketogenic diet. So again, it's really up to you and what you want and where you are. If you're power building, yeah, I think CKD is great. And if you are cutting up, I think SKD is great. So either way.
What are some helpful ways to gain back the confidence and motivation to get back in the gym and eat right?
So here's the deal. The first absolute thing I would do before you go back to the gym, before you take any significant steps in your life, is I would grab a notebook just like this one, moleskin or a wire-bound notebook or something like that. And I would do two things. One, I'd write down your goals over the next year, right? Two, I'd write down a paragraph about your vision for what you want your life to look like, right? So that includes any achievements you want out of life, where you want to live, what you want your wife to look like, how many kids you want, what kind of dog you want, what kind of car you want to drive, what your house looks like, all of that stuff, right? And I want you to write that all down, and it has to come from you. And I would suggest not reading anything, not talking to anybody, not looking at YouTube for at least 3 or 4 days before you do this, right? And here's why. Because your vision has to come from you. It has to come from your heart. It has to be what you truly want. And I think a lot of us, we get on YouTube and we see how other people live. And we say, you know what? That would be really cool. What you've got to understand is that you're not me. You're not that I'm special or anything like that. I live in an apartment here. You're not anybody else in this world, right? You are not anybody else in this world. All you are is you. And in this world, we have vampires. And those vampires, not only do they try to suck your blood out, they try to turn you into other vampires. Now, I'm not talking negatively about anybody else here on YouTube or any other person, but I think that all of you have a tendency to adopt the identities of your idols, and you forget about what you really want and hear. So if you're trying to find motivation to get back in the gym, right, that means something in the gym in the first place wasn't congruent with your identity, or some sort of congruence fell off, right? And so by writing out your goals and writing out your dreams and your vision for your life, you might find that the gym and bodybuilding is not exactly what you really wanted. Maybe you'll find that you want to be a trail runner. Maybe you'll find that you want to do Spartan races. Maybe you'll find that you want to do some other aspect of fitness. And I think it's important that we all keep fitness in our lives. But what we forget is that the gym is just a small aspect of that. Yes, bodybuilding is great. Muscle is great. And that's why I'm here. But it's not for everybody. And not everybody has to do it, right? And I think there's too much looking down on people who may not have that same ideology and may not have that same vision for their lives that occurs in this industry and that occurs throughout the social media venues that involve this industry. And honestly, that makes me fucking sick. None of us here are special. All of us have our own vision in our lives, and nobody has the right to impose their vision on someone else, right? And sorry, I'm getting angry there, but what you have to do in order to find the happiness and to find the motivation to do something is to find out who you are first and find out what you want. Okay? Sorry for getting a little bit off the handle. I hope you guys enjoyed this and I hope you find it informative. Put any questions you have below in the comments and I will try to answer them, or visit my Instagram at Chris Albert Fitness and ask me questions there. And I will try to incorporate them in the show each week. I'll talk to you all soon. Peace.